equations and inequalities with rational numbers. Okay, in other words, most of the things we're going to cover is either decimal numbers or fractions. We covered fractions yesterday, but there's a somewhat simpler way to do it than what we did yesterday. Okay, but you need to know that way because this way that we're fixing to show you doesn't necessarily always work the easiest. Okay, so the equations you're going to see are going to look similar to yesterday. Okay, they're going to be two-step equations instead of one-step equations. Okay, so the first one I want to look at is this one: 2/3 n plus 17 equals 5/6. All right. What we're going to talk about today is nobody likes dealing with fractions. Okay? We're all that way. We don't like dealing with fractions. So, what we're going to do is this. We're going to look at our two fractions denominators. Okay, the denominator is 2/3 is obviously 3. Denominator of 5/6 is obviously 6. We want to find what is the least common multiple between 6 and 3. In other words, we count by 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Count by 6, 6, 12, 18, 24. What's the first number you run into? 6. Because if you're counting by 6, you're not going to run into a 3. Okay? If you're counting by 3s, you obviously run into 6, the second number. So, what I'm going to do then is the LCM okay, the LCM is 6, so I want to multiply all of the terms in the equation by 6. Okay, so here's what it looks like. 6 times 2/3 n plus 6 times 17 is equal to 6 times 5/6. Now, since I did it to every single term, it is an equivalent equation. Okay? If I'd have just multiplied 6 by the two different fractions, then it's no longer an equivalent expression. Okay, now, here's why we do that. Now we can look at it and say, okay, 6/1, 6/1. Well, I can cross-cancel. 3 goes into 3 once, 2 goes into 6, 3 goes into 6 2 times. So that leaves me with 2 times 2n plus, what is 6 times 17? Huh? No? Okay, stop. What is 6 times 10? What is 6 times 10? 60. What is 6 times 7? 42. What is 42 plus 60? What is 42 plus 60? 102. That's what 6 times 17 is. Okay? Now, the last one, 6 goes into 6 once. 6 goes into 6 once. So that leaves me with 1 times 5. So that's 4n plus 102 equal 5. So we got rid of the fractions. Because if you don't get rid of the fractions, then you're going to have to add the 17 over there. In a minute, we're going to have 3 fractions instead of just 2. So this in the end will make it easier. Now I solve the equation. We solve the equation by subtracting by 102 to both sides. On the left side, it cancels out, leaving me with 4n equal to, what is 5 minus 102? Negative 97. Now, to solve that, we simply divide by 4 to both sides. Cancels here, leave me with n. 4 goes into 97, be 2, 8, remainder 1. Bring down my 7. 4 into 17 goes 4 times, be 16, remainder 1. Take the 1, put it over the 4. So 24 and 1/4. And that's the answer to your problem. Now, I want to do one that has 3 fractions in it. And it doesn't change how we're going to solve it. 3/4 n minus 1/2 is equal to 7/4. So if we look at our denominators, 4, 2, and 4, what is the least common multiple between 4, 2, and 4? 4. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4. I'm going to multiply this by 4, this by 4, and that by 4. Okay, well here the 4's cancel, leave me with 3n. Here 2 goes into 2, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice, so that's minus 2. Then on the other side, those 4 cancels, leave me a 7. So now what do I do to solve it? Why am I subtracting 2? Why am I subtracting 3? What do you do, Laney? Okay, you can do that. Or what is the inverse of subtraction? Add. And I'm going to add 2 to both sides. That's the inverse. Those 2 cancel. Leave me at 3n is equal to, what is 7 plus 2? 9. Now what do I do? Divide by 3 to both sides. And that gives me n equals 3. Okay, I want you to try this one on your own. 1/2 t plus 1/4 equals 5/16. Okay, try that one on your own. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. We multiply everything by 16 because that's the common multiple. So, as we look at this, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 16 8 times. So that's 8 times 1 t plus 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 16 4 times, so that's 4 times 1. 16 and 16 cancel, leaving me with 5. So this is 8t plus 4 equal 5. So now to solve it, we've got to take and subtract both sides by 4. Cancels on the left side. 5 minus 4 is 1. Okay, that's where we get the 1, is right from there, from the right side. Now, to solve the multiplication, I divide by 8 to both sides. That cancels. Leaving me a t is equal. That's just a proper fraction. T is equal to 1/8. Now, I'm going to show you an inequality one. Let's see here. And it doesn't really change. An inequality that has a fraction in it doesn't really change. 7/13 x minus 1 is greater than 1/2. Okay, everything is still the same. Okay, what is the common multiple between 13 and 2? What? 26. So, I'm going to take and multiply everything by 26. Okay, well, 13 goes into 13 once, 13 into 26 2 times. So that's 2 times 7 times x minus 26 times 1 is greater than 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 26 13 times. So that'd be 13 times 1. So that's 14x minus 26 is greater than 13. So what do I do to solve that?
Add 26 to both sides.
Yep. Add 26 to both sides. Cancels on the left side, and it gives me 39 on the right side. So that's 14x is greater than 39. So now what do I do? Divide by what? Divide by 14 to both sides. That gives me x is greater than 14 into 39 goes twice, be 28. Remainder 11, take the 11, put it over the 14. So 2 and 11/14. Okay, the difference is you must include the greater than or less than sign. Okay, you can't just put 2 and 11/14 and be done. Okay. This sign must be included in your answer. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Try this one on your own. It's an inequality. 8/15x minus 17/30 is less than 7/10. All right, Copeland, what'd you get? What? So what's the whole answer? What is it? Not greater than. Yeah. X is less than 2 3/8. As I just stated, You can't just put the number. Okay, let's look at that one. Make sure everybody understands how we got that. What is the common multiple between 15, 30, and 10? 30. So that's 30 times each term. Well, 15 goes into 15 once. 15 goes into 30 twice. So that gives me 2 times 8x minus 30 goes into 30 once. 30 goes into 30 once. So that's 1 times 17 is less than 10 goes into 10 once. 10 goes into 30 3 times, which is 3 times 7. Okay, from that point, it's just 16x minus 17 is less than 21. So now we add 17 to both sides, giving me 16x is less than 38. Now you divide by 16 to both sides. 16 over 16 cancels out to 1, so it's just 1x, which is x, is less than 16 into 38. Goes 2 times, be 32. Remainder 6. Put the 6 over the 16. So 2 and 6 over 16, but I can reduce that by 2. 2 goes into that 3 times, 2 goes into 16 8 times. So x is less than 2 and 3/8. Okay, any questions over that? Now we're going to start the decimal ones. And there's an easier way to do these. All right, let's look at this one. 2.3m minus 11 equal negative 29.4. Okay? So normally you would have to add 11 to both sides, and then you got to divide by 2.3. Okay? Well, the way we can make this easier is we get rid of the decimal in each of the terms. Okay? What you have to check though is this. There's one decimal place, no decimal places, and one decimal place. So what's our greatest amount of decimal places? 1. Okay? So, how do I move the decimal one place? Well, you would multiply by 10 to each term. Okay? When you multiply 10 times 2.3, it becomes 23m. Minus, what's 10 times 11? 110. Equals 294. So I'm just taking out the decimal. So if it looked like, let's say it looked like this. Let's say it looked like that. Okay, so you have 2, 1, and 2. All you're doing, folks, is moving the decimal the same amount of times in each term. So here, move it once, twice, so that's 232m. Move it once, twice, so that's 1,120. Move it once, twice, 2,941. That's all you're doing. Okay, and what you did is you basically multiplied this each term by 100, because that's what it takes to move a decimal twice. Multiply it by 100. From this point, remember that was just an example. From this point, you just solve this equation. So I add 110 to both sides. Cancels on the left side, leaving me a 23m is equal to 404. Is that right? Okay. And it's negative 404. Is that right? Yeah. So, to solve that, we have to divide by 23 to both sides. That cancels. Leave me at m is equal to 23 into negative 404. Okay, so that goes in there one time, be 23, remainder 17. Okay. And 23 goes into 174 how many times? 7 times, yeah. Okay, let me make sure. Oh, that's why. Hang on here. Back up. It's not 404. Because I forgot my negative sign right there when I transferred it down. So you have 294 negative and 110 positive gives you 184. And that would be a negative 184. So now you divide by 23 to both sides, and that gives me m is equal to negative 8. Okay. When we come in tomorrow, we'll do one or two more of these examples. We'll do some stuff on the board, and then we'll have the rest of the class to do the work. Okay. So we're done for today.